You settle into your seat as the train pulls away from the platform. The station clock above the roof reads 10:14. Your own watch says 10:23. You barely notice the difference. 9 minutes. But that gap is about to turn your journey into a fight for your life, because a clock error is as deadly as a snapped rail. And in this moment, two trains are racing toward each other. The obvious explanation is that one clock is simply wrong. But the real answer is far stranger. That station clock was right, and the conductor's watch was also right. They were just following two different realities. This is the story of how a 9 minute crack in time almost swallowed a train whole, and what it reveals about the invisible clockwork that holds your world together. Before the railway, moments like this could not happen. For most of human history, time was local. Your ancestors set their clocks by the sun. When the sun hit its highest point, it was noon. That meant noon in one town could be 12 minutes earlier than noon in a town a few miles east, and no one cared. The traveler on horseback took days to cross the distance. The few minutes of difference vanished inside the blur of a long journey. But then the railway arrived. Suddenly, a few minutes became a chasm. The train moving at 50 miles per hour covers a mile every 72 seconds. The timing mistake of just 4 minutes could put two trains on the same track at the same moment, and that is exactly what started to happen. In the 1800s, train wrecks from time confusion piled up. A historian named Ian Bartkey documented the carnage. He found that railway timetables became a patchwork of contradictory time zones. In the United States alone, there were over 70 different railway times by 1880. In Europe, it was even more chaotic. Every nation, sometimes every city, kept its own version of the hour. The clock on the station platform in Geneva did not agree with the clock in Lyon. But the train ran between them, and somebody had to decide which time was true. Picture a night in the late 1880s. You are a passenger on an express train crossing from France into Switzerland. The border is just a line in the dark. But in the cab of the locomotive, the engineer is holding a slip of paper. It is the train order, written by the station agent. The order says the track ahead will be clear until 10:30. The engineer checks his watch. It is 10:05. He has 25 minutes. He pushes the throttle forward. The steam engine surges. What the engineer does not know is that the station agent wrote that order using the station clock. The station clock is set to local solar time, 9 minutes behind the railway time on the engineer's watch. So when the station agent said the track would be clear until 10:30, he meant 10:30 local time. But the engineer's watch already reads 10:14. The collision is now 21 minutes closer than anyone realizes. Meanwhile, coming the other way, a freight train is laboring up a grade. Its engineer has been given the exact same block of track. According to his calculations, he should be clear by 10:15. He checks his own watch, which matches the station clock. He believes he has 10 minutes to spare. But on the express train, your watch shows the truth. The gap between the two trains is shrinking by the second. There is a curve in the track ahead, blind to both engines. By the time either engineer sees the other's headlamp, it will be too late to stop. Iron at that speed does not forgive. A head-on collision between a passenger express and heavy freight train was a death sentence. Think about that for a moment. A simple misunderstanding of what time it was could turn hundreds of human bodies into wreckage. This was not a mechanical failure. It was a failure of the very idea of time itself. But something saved that train. A strange chain of events, set in motion by the same chaos, intervened. The telegraph operator at the next signal tower was a meticulous man. His job was to log the passing of every train by the time on his own clock. When he heard the express train report its time, he noticed a discrepancy. The express claimed to have left the previous station at a time that did not match his log. He scribbled a quick note, then tapped it out in Morse code. The message was brief: hold all trains, time error suspected. The operator at the freight train's last stop received the message and desperately signaled. But the freight train was already out of telegraph reach, deep in the mountain pass. The only hope rested on a flagman and a red lantern. The station hand grabbed a lantern and sprinted down the track into the darkness. He knew the curve. He planted himself on the ties, swinging the red light madly. The freight engineer saw the light first. He slammed the brakes. The iron wheels locked, screaming. The express engineer rounded the curve and saw the red lantern in the freight's tail. He, too, threw the emergency brakes. The train shuddered, the wheels grinding. They came to a stop with just a few meters between them. Steam hissed into the cold night air. Passengers stumbled out, confused. No one understood how close they had come to being killed by a clock. Investigators later pieced together what happened. The station clock at the border had been set to local time for decades. The railway company had recently switched its operating time to a centralized standard, but no one had updated the clock, and no one had informed the conductor that such a discrepancy existed. The station agent, born in the town, assumed the old clock was right. The engineer, trained in the new system, assumed his watch was the authority. Both were right, and both were wrong. Peter Gallison, a physicist and historian, would later call this kind of confusion the crisis of simultaneity. He traced how the struggle to define a single moment across distances reshaped entire civilizations. The near miss at the Swiss border became just one entry in a global ledger of time-induced disaster. But it pointed to something deeper. The human mind had not evolved to manage a world where a minute could kill, and so we built machines to control time for us. The Swiss near miss, and others like it, forced a revolution. In 1891, a conductor's 4-minute error caused the Kipton wreck in Ohio, killing 8 people. That tragedy finally broke the resistance. Railroads began adopting strict watch inspection rules. Swiss Railways unified to Central European time in 1894. The United States created 4 standard time zones in 1883. Historian David Landes, in his book Revolution in Time, described how the railway smashed the old local time forever. Every clock that mattered was synchronized every day by telegraph signal. A watch was no longer a personal accessory. It became a matter of life and death. If you worked on the railway, your watch was your weapon. If it failed, you could be charged with manslaughter. That pressure gave birth to the modern obsession with precision. But here is the unsettling part. The station clock was not defective. It was simply still connected to the sun. For all of human history, the sun had been the ultimate clock. Your ancestors rose with it, ate by it, died by it. The idea that a machine could dictate a different time was a kind of violence against nature. You chose to abandon the sun's rhythm for the railway's rhythm, and you never looked back. Today, your entire life is governed by clocks more precise than anything those engineers could imagine. The watch on your wrist syncs to a satellite. The time it shows is not the sun's time, but coordinated universal time kept by atomic clocks. Those atomic clocks measure the vibrations of atoms, and they will not lose a second in millions of years. You are a creature of the sun, but you live inside a machine of time. You probably checked a clock today without thinking. Maybe it was your phone, your microwave, your car dashboard. You trust those numbers completely. But every single one of those clocks is a descendant of that station clock at the Swiss border. And the near miss that almost incinerated a train is baked into the code of your day. Consider this. If a 9-minute error could kill in the 1880s, what could a 9-millisecond error do today? Stock trades worth billions are decided by microsecond gaps. GPS navigation depends on timing accuracy of nanoseconds. A modern train control system can stop a train automatically if a signal is missed by a fraction of a second. You have built a world where time must be absolute. And when it isn't, the consequences are even more catastrophic. But the anxiety you sometimes feel, the pressure of the ticking clock, has its roots in that moment on the tracks. You inherited the fear of the clock error. It lives in your nervous system. You glance at your watch. You hurry. Because somewhere deep inside, you know that being late once meant burning alive. That is the legacy of the railway age. The next time you settle into a train seat and see the station clock drift past, and notice that your own watch does not match, you will not just shrug. You will remember the 9-minute crack that almost swallowed a train. You will remember the red lanterns swinging in the dark. And you will know that the quiet numbers on your wrist are not innocent. They are the thin, cold line between arrival and catastrophe. 9 minutes. That is all it was. And it almost killed a train. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to our channel. A new story every week.